what the strategies are, what the materials are, and what direction they'll go. It starts in the classroom, then moves to the administration. Third, we have a lot of talk, and some people said I was silly because I was de-emphasizing square footage, and I was looking at scores. I'm not a contractor, okay? The only thing I know is schools and children and how they learn and how they don't learn. We can't concentrate on bricks. We have to concentrate on both. We have to concentrate.
Excuse me, Mr. Mossman, your
Wow,
2 minutes
shut
is
it.
up.
All right.
And we'll choose in the same way who's going to start with the second question. I'm not looking. And I'll draw Mr. Mossman, who will get to go first for the second question.
I'm in slow level.
Okay, given that not all students are college bound, is the district doing enough to serve them? Why or why not?
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm forgetting. Let me repeat the question. Given that not all students are college bound, is the district doing enough to serve them? Why or why not?
Whether our students go to college or to technical school, they need to have a broad base of knowledge and information. And our schools are responsible for teaching that. Now, I find that a balanced curriculum, and I say balanced, I mean balanced, we need to have reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we also need to have fine arts, performing arts, sports, because those are the buy-ins that the kids get so they don't get bored in the classroom. Fine arts, performing arts, and sports. We can't all be on the first team, on the football team, you know, but we can be runner-ups. And so I believe that our strategy should be that whether they go to one college or two technical schools, they need to have a broad base of information, and academics are supported by sports, performing arts, and anything else that you get them into a buy-in. That'll keep them in school. And I see people saying, well, we're just going to have to get rid of the band. Hey, the band's great. I mean, so let's keep the fine arts, performing arts, and everything supporting our academics. And if we do that, we'll find that we'll be able to send our students to college as well as technical school.
Thank you. Mr. Norton? Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I can remember. I don't think this school district's done enough to keep technical support in the schools. And the reason I say that is when I went to high school in 1988, graduated, we had all that stuff in the school district. And at some point along the lines, I remember somebody telling me that not enough of the students were going to school, and that we need to sell to college. We need to encourage more college enrollment. Too many people are going to technical degrees. You know, as somebody that's went into a technical degree after just barely falling short of a pre-approved scholarship I had to become a doctor, some people need the technical school to work their way back through college. Some people don't go to college right away, so they need those things. But you can also emphasize through shop, through work programs that you can incorporate geometry, physics, and other things in those other classes. And a lot of people don't learn the same way. Some people are visual, some people are better readers, some people are hands-on. They have to see it. Once they see it, they get it. That's what these technical support things do. We used to partner with that. Somewhere along the lines, somebody was technical skills weren't important. And only about a third of the students go to school, to higher education. So I think we need to think of the bottom 60% that builds the buildings, that does all the support network, that builds your roads, that delivers your goods to your services. All these jobs are important.
So the question, is the Longview School District doing enough for students that are not college bound? And my answer is, I don't think that they are, and here's why. In the first speech that I gave, I talked about needing to emphasize STEM technologies integrated into elective classes so that kids can not only get the rudimentary, but also have lots of experiences to figure out what they want to do at a younger age. That's like the first thing that we really need to get to. And the second thing I talked about was career readiness, and I talked about vocations. So I've been at the fair this weekend, talking to voters, talking to constituents. I talked to a mother and her 2 daughters. The one daughter wanted to be a literary major, and she wanted to teach. So I said, what are you doing in high school now to get ready? And she said she's just taking classes. And I said, are you doing Running Start classes? No. Are you doing any AP classes? No. And I said, well, what should you be doing to get a 4-year degree, for a bachelor's degree? And she said she didn't really know. There's a problem there. This student didn't know the support, didn't have the counselors, didn't have the advisors telling her the classes she needed to take to get over to LCC, to get a 2-year degree, or to get into a 4-year school. That's what we need for those students. The other student had no idea, but she wanted to do something in healthcare, which is a good field to get into. So I think with healthcare, there's a lot of vocational programs for our students. We can do vocations like I talked about before, where we can work with the building trades to get students to have 2-year certificates, 2-year degrees of vocational training, so that way when they're graduating, they have something to go that they can use an applied career, and they have the professional development tools to get a job right out of school. And I think that that's why vocational programs are so important, that we need more of. So with that, I'll finish. Thank you.
Mr. Nickerson?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen this time. In my last statement, I gave the incumbent credit for helping pass levies, and he spent his 2 minutes debating that, and that was a compliment. This one's not going to be quite so complimentary. By the way, we never did hear what his issues were outside of the merger. I know that he agrees that we need to improve our vocational education program, but the track record is this. Home economics has been cut back, the auto shop has been dropped, small engine repair program is dropped, and there's been a cutback on the arts. Those are all programs that help keep kids in school and help prepare them for non-college careers. I think what we need to do is have early identification of these students. They need counseling once they're identified. I've listened to trade representatives in this community. They want to help. They want to help these kids. They want to work with the schools. We have retirees in this community who have vast experience in these areas, and they want to help with the schools. And we have a model. The Bits and Bots robotic program is a wonderful model. I guess we're coming out of the closet, but my wife and I were anonymous donors, and we were invited to come to their awards program. And I sat at tables with retired people and employed people who were mentors to these young folks. And James Campbell was instrumental in this program as well, and one of the remarks he made to me sitting at a table was, you know, these kids are learning trigonometry and they don't even know it. I think we have the resources here to do better for our non-college bound students, and I believe we can.
Mr. Smith?
I think Mr. Nickerson has some good ideas here. I would like to further expound upon it with the fact that there's a big market out there for IT, but there's not really being much done in the local schools about that. And when I speak about IT, I mean being able to do web design, and I don't mean the Mickey Mouse kind of stuff like you hear about. I mean being able to actually code the CSS, which controls the screen, put the material up, in HTML, JavaScript, the client programs on the local computers, and the software for the servers. Now, there's a lot of jobs in there. You go down to Portland, you look, and we've got to not focus in the regional area the way it has been in the past here with the trade unions and the mill jobs. If you look around, there's not that many jobs. How many people do you know that have got the qualifications to be working and they're not working? There aren't the jobs here. IT is the future, and we need to put resources into that. I think we should have a shop, just like a mechanical shop or a wood shop, and that should be in IT. We should provide that in our high schools. So as far as what the schools are doing now for the people that are not going to get a degree, they're not doing very much beyond the basics, and we need to get the basics better, especially the math and the science. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stinger?
In my opinion, this community needs a vocational training center. I don't think there's any question about it. We've got kids in this community that are not going to go to college. It's not their place or role. I've usually got a pretty loud voice, so can you hear me? But one of the problems that we face from a district level is that the District of Longview is not the best entity to start this with. And the reason is because if we create a vocational center at Longview as the district, then what happens is that we start poaching, you can call it that, students from other areas. From Kelso is going to come over, Kalama may come over. We may start bringing these students in. And all of those districts are very suspect of that because they're losing money that otherwise could be coming into their districts. So they keep a hands-off issue on that. They don't want the Longview School District to be the one that's running this. It needs to come from LCC. Lower Columbia College is the perfect entity to pull together a vocational training center for our community. It would allow all of the schools to be able to easily come in and to allow their students to be a part of that and not feel like one district is taking from another. We need to work hand in hand with LCC to make this happen. I'd also like to say that I have an idea this year that I would like to implement, is that I think we need to capture our children. And how we're going to capture our children is we need to start allowing kids to have more electives when they're freshmen and sophomore, not when they're juniors and seniors. Because if they have more electives when they're younger, you can capture their imagination. They can go in, they may find that class that they never imagined that they would love. And it keeps them in school, it keeps them energized, it drives them forward. And instead what we do is we let the kids have their electives when they're juniors and seniors, when they really need to have the most rigor and study the hardest because they're just about to transition into the point in their life where they really need to do that. Instead, we've got it backwards. I think that what we need to do is we need to make that change. It gives kids the opportunity to be able to find out what they truly love, and then let the juniors and seniors really start putting their nose to the grindstone and have the rigor that they need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is our school district doing enough? I don't know if we can ever do enough, but we are headed in the right direction, in my opinion. Not all students are going to go to college, but if you ever go into the shop over at Mark Morris, and I've spoken to this before, there's actually a chart on the wall that says Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is I go to college, get a good degree, go out and get a job for $60,000 a year. Plan B is that doesn't work out. I go to trade school or out of college and I use my skills and my hands to go get a job for $60,000 a year. It's to show the kids that there's not a difference in earning potential based on where you go and what's better suited to them. We have increased our focus on CTE and vocational. It doesn't look like when you and I were in school. It's not wood shop and metal shop. It's things like the Microsoft IT Academy that we do have. That's a great step. Students can use that. They can come out of high school certified in various areas of Microsoft IT and use that on their resume. The other one that Mr. Nickerson spoke about, and I am very involved in, is the robotics competition, U.S. First Robotics. Those kids don't even realize they're learning. And the way that we run that is a project-based learning. Some of those kids will do it as a business plan. Some of them will do marketing. Some of them will do the physical hands-on of that. Programs like that where we can dovetail those skills together with the requirements for English and science and math is a great way for these kids to learn, and they don't even realize they're doing it in many cases. The college and trade school careers are important here, and we've made great inroads with our focus on CTE. I'm proud of the fact that we have worked hard as a district to maintain some of the arts and music programs. There's many districts outside of here in larger urban areas where they don't have arts or music or any shop classes to any degree. So we are headed in the right direction. We need to do more. CTE and vocational is looking different, and I think it's vital for the education. I almost think it should be required that all kids take a vocational class outside of their normal comprehensive studies. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on now to question 3. Again, 2 minutes for each candidate to answer. And this, we're beginning with Mr. Rossetti. And the question is, what would you recommend given the district's ranking on the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction's 2011-2012 report card?
Say it again, louder,
No, that's right. The question again, what would you recommend given the district's ranking on the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction's 2011-2012 programs? Report card. That would,
well, do they know?
okay, Mr. Rossetti.
Okay, thank you very much. So what would I recommend? I would recommend, first of all, that we all know Monticello a few years back was a failing school, and the principal at Monticello has done a fabulous job training that school around and making it much more successful. Now there's been talk that the other 2 middle schools, Cascade and Mount Solo, may be transitioning or sliding into a similar role that Monticello was in. And I think that the first thing to answer this, to address this question, is that we need to take what we've learned at Monticello and take all the great successes from Monticello, and we need to apply those and help train the administration and staff at Mount Solo and Cascade so that all of our schools start to do a better job and we see better student success. I think other recommendations as far as our report card goes is, again, to focus on the basics and reading. I think our biggest thing is getting all of our kids to be able to read by 3rd grade, and that they're not losing that progress each year when they come back to school. So those are basically my ideas, and that's going to be it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nickerson, same question?
Well, the SPI report card is just an indicator that shows how the district is progressing and is broken into different subcategories. I think the most significant thing we could do was begin to spend some of our reserve funds to upgrade, give our teachers, our building principals, our paraprofessionals, other people in the district more of the tools they need. If you look not at the budget, but how the budget's been spent over the past 4 or 5 years, this is a district who has traditionally underspent its budget, and the 2 areas that it underspends it in the most are in personnel dealing directly with kids and instruction and materials. And, you know, as I mentioned with my first comment, we've got this, what I call a talent flight. We've got to turn that around, keep our good teachers, give them the tools that they need to do the job. Give them the paraprofessionals they need to help them do the job. I believe we have, in most cases, good parental support. But no report card's going to go up or down unless we have the resources. And the problem here I see is for the past number of years, we have had the resources. The district has chosen not to use those resources, but build a reserve fund far more than it needs to be. It's time to spend that down for kids.
Thank you. My comment on this is that some of these statements that were made on the other side of the table are a good example of why I'm talking about the technology being so bad. To say that Microsoft, to have a Microsoft certification program is some big thing. All that is doing is making a consumer for Microsoft products. It is doing very little unless you want to set up a computer store. And anybody can get that certification. There's a lot of computer stores around here, but what does that do? That doesn't give you the general technology in order to go out there and work anyplace else, except in a small town or something. And another thing is throwing the money at equipment. You know, tools, right here is a tool that people need. Right here, it's in the mind. It's not fancy equipment. I remember when calculators first came out. You know, that there was a big debate about that, and it has proven to be the fact that people using calculators, they still can't do the equations and get the right answer. I know there's some classes that teach something called approximation or fuzzy math or something where the students are required to come up with just an approximate answer to something. Well, you get in the real world and you're working with something, if that number doesn't come out right, it's gonna mess up. It's gonna mess up badly. Sometimes it can be fatal, and I've seen that happen. When I worked for Boeing, I've seen a mistake made in software. It's been covered up, but a couple thousand people died because of that. So once again, it's here in the mind, and we need to get our children to be thinking and be able to think for themselves and not be tied down to any kind of vendor like Microsoft, because it's a dead end. Thank you.
Mr. Springer?
I hope the voters get it right, that's all I have. I don't apologize for the Longview School District's budget. I'm proud of our budget. When I first came here 5 years ago, we were at 0.3% in our reserve fund. Our bond ratings were down. We had no money in reserves whatsoever. And over that time, we built that budget up to a minimum of 5%. Now, I don't know how you work your budgets at home, but Mr. Nickerson seems to think that we need to spend everything we have. That's not what a rainy day fund is for. With that money, we've been able to do a lot of fantastic things in our community, with our children. For instance, we're about to start all-day kindergarten. That's coming out of a reserve fund. Now, the state is now kicking a little bit of money into that as well, but all-day kinder are coming to us because we've been able to be prudent with our budget. We backfilled teacher salaries. The state came back and took money away from our teachers. And because of the fact that we had a budget that was a healthy, at least a 5% budget, we were able to go to our teachers and say, here's that money back. And we gave it back to the teachers because we appreciate our teachers and the hard work that they do. When I came to this district, the kids still thought that Richard Nixon was the president because that's what their textbooks told them. We had no new textbooks. So we used the money coming out of the reserve fund to build a 7-year rotation where we're rotating now and replacing curriculum on a regular basis. Our kids now have books that are up to date and working. We're just now, if you get a chance, when Kessler gets reopened, we've just now, out of the reserve fund of that, we've been able to take a bad concept, which was an open concept, where teachers could not hear each other, students could not hear because of all the noise in there. We built walls in there, and we're redoing that, making that a better place for kids to be. I believe in prudent and purposeful budgets, and I feel like we've been doing that since I've been in this district. Yeah.
Mr. Campbell, same question.
Well, based on the report card findings, I think we are headed in the right direction. Einstein's definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, we can't do that, and we're not doing that. Nobody wants to be average. We want our students to have the best education and reach their potential. So some of the things we've been doing, the innovative programs that we're trying to start through CTE and vocational that I've already spoken of, I do believe in fiscal responsibility. And some of that would be, I would agree, that there are certain areas that we need more staffing. Using the reserve funds to maintain the status quo in our district is part of the conversation that we're having. It's not a prudent decision to keep doing that. If we can pool some of those resources, get some of our capacity and footprint issues in line, I think we stand a better chance of doing some of these. Outside of the all-day kinder that we're implementing, which is proven for young learning advancement and being ready for first grade, that's a big thing. The Kessler thing, implementing the Common Core standards, that's going to take money for teacher development and training, as well as the teacher and principal evaluation programs that are starting to phase themselves in. All those things are geared at, whether they be from a state and federal mandate or from the district, all those things are geared at improving student learning, which is really our end goal, is it needs to be about the student learning and the flexible program offerings that we can give to them.
Mr. Mossman?
I love this one. I taught as a sub for long term at Kessler Elementary, and I did my student teaching 25 years ago in an open classroom. I want you to know that whether it's in the barrio or the ghettos, you can use open classrooms very efficiently. When I found out that it was going to cost 1.whatever million, I said, why are we putting the walls in? Then we're going to material things. Students are going to be students, and you can't expect them to go around with their hands folded, walking like robots. They're going to be children, okay? What we need is, we need a strategy of how to use that open classroom to educate students. That's what our goal was when I was teaching. So I found that to spend $1 million and so was sort of frivolous. Why didn't we, if we had problems, break that down and maybe hire more teachers? We could do that rather than walls. And think about this, in a couple of years, maybe 5 years, they'll go back and say, wait a minute, we need to have open classrooms. So then we're going to spend another $1 million taking down those walls. In which case, I'll buy them and put them in a storeroom, because maybe we'll see some people changing their attitude. I think that the problem we had is we have successes in this school district. Number one, you had Mark Morris passing the AYP. You had CVG passing the AYP. Why don't we just take a look at those schools and see how well they're doing? But then we go out and hire teachers, hire principals from outside of the school district. Doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Mossman. Mr. Norton, same question?
The OPS report is an indicator. The OPS report is an indicator. I took a class up in Olympia to be a candidate, and they talked about how to be a director. As a director, it's your job to gather information. You don't have to be an expert on every subject. You have all these subcommittees that give you advice. But is the information they're getting accurate? I don't think it is. Like Mr. Mossman said, you copy the success. If you want to improve the achievement gap, you look at the success you're getting, but you have to concentrate on the individual person, and you have to inspire people through whatever classes or whatever talents they have. A good counselor is crucial to inspire somebody and give them direction on what jobs are available and incorporating technical schools back into our system. We had it, we lost it. Once we got rid of it, we had a mass exodus from our thing. I disagree with Mr. Springer about making LCC the thing. We need to start technical schools early, not later.